Welcome to the Explainer. So Anthropic just dropped something massive. And honestly, it's not just another model update. It's a completely new dual system approach, specifically designed to handle AI capabilities that are, frankly, starting to push the boundaries of what's safe for public access. Today, we're unpacking the launch of Claude Fable 5 and its unrestrained twin, Claude Mythos 5.
Which brings us to a really fascinating question. What actually happens when an AI becomes just too capable for the general public? Like, how do you release state-of-the-art reasoning, logic, and coding power without accidentally handing over, say, a master key to sophisticated cyber attacks or dangerous biological research? Well, that is the exact dilemma Anthropic is navigating right now. They've built an underlying brain so incredibly powerful that they literally had to create two distinct identities just to interact with it safely.
Okay, let's map out exactly what we're covering today. First, we'll meet Fable and Mythos. Then we'll dive into their state-of-the-art capabilities. After that, we'll unpack the dual-use dilemma, explore their really innovative safety fallbacks, and finally look at what it actually takes to build with the new API.
Right. Section 1. Meet Fable and Mythos. Two models, one brain.
So the core strategy here is super fascinating. Fable 5 is Anthropic's most capable, widely released model. It's designed for general access, but it's equipped with incredibly strict safety classifiers. You can kind of think of Fable as the public model with a leash. But on the flip side, we have Mythos 5. Now this is the exact same underlying model, but all those cyber and biological safeguards, they've been completely lifted. Because of that raw, unfiltered capability, Mythos 5 is absolutely not available to the general public. Instead, it's locked behind Project Glasswing, which is a specialized initiative collaborating directly with the US government and trusted cyber defenders.
Moving on to Section 2, State-of-the-Art Capabilities. The hype is real.
To give you an idea of the power we're talking about, during the early testing phase, Stripe reported that Fable 5 essentially compressed months of complex engineering work into mere days. And we're not talking about writing a few basic Python scripts here. Fable autonomously executed a codebase-wide migration across a 50 million-line Ruby environment. A project that would have tied up a whole human engineering team for over 2 months was literally knocked out in a single day. That is a massive paradigm shift.
But honestly, it goes way beyond traditional coding. Fable 5 is demonstrating an unprecedented level of long-horizon autonomy. It can visually reason with zero handholding. For example, it actually beat the game Pokemon Fire Red from start to finish using nothing but raw game screenshots. No internal maps, no special code harnesses, just looking at the screen like a human would. It can also autonomously strategize and build massive automated factories in the engineering game Victorio. And get this, it even coded a fluid physics simulation and then perfectly synced it up to a classical EDM remix that the model produced itself. And keep in mind, it's never actually heard music before.
Now, while Fable is out there crushing software and vision tasks, the unrestricted Mythos 5 model is pushing the absolute boundaries of the life sciences. Internal experts found that Mythos accelerated the drug design process by a factor of 10. It's essentially acting as an independent senior research scientist. It's consistently producing novel molecular biology hypotheses, and one of those was actually already independently corroborated by an external lab. In genomics, working mostly autonomously for a week, Mythos trained a custom machine learning model that outperformed a recently published model in the prestigious Science journal, and it did that despite being 100 times smaller.
Okay, Section 3, the dual-use dilemma, the risk of uplift.
So with all that awe-inspiring scientific and coding power comes a very real, very dark shadow. And this brings us to a really critical concept called uplift. This is the exact reason why Mythos 5 cannot just be released to the open web. Because, think about it, the exact same capabilities that allow a model to autonomously migrate a 50 million-line codebase or design viral shells for gene therapy also make it exceptionally good at finding software vulnerabilities or assisting in the creation of bioweapons. If the model can give a malicious actor knowledge or strategic capability they couldn't just get from a standard internet search, that is a dangerous uplift.
To prevent this kind of disaster, Anthropic hardwired rigorous classifiers into Fable 5. When it's tasked with offensive cyber operations, things like reconnaissance, vulnerability discovery, or lateral movement in a network, Fable 5 is stopped entirely in its tracks. It literally blocks 100% of progress on these tasks. Whereas previous models without these dedicated classifiers could sometimes be coerced into partially helping out, Fable simply refuses to engage in any kind of agentic hacking, period.
And because the stakes are just so incredibly high here, Anthropic has instituted a strict, mandatory 30-day data retention policy for all traffic hitting these new Mythos-class models, and that applies whether you're a first-party user or a massive enterprise customer. Now, they aren't training new models on this data, but they absolutely need it retained so they can monitor, detect, and defend against novel, highly complex jailbreaks, where adversaries are actively trying to bypass those safety classifiers.
All right, let's look at Section 4, Innovative Safety and Fallbacks, the safety net.
So how do you enforce all this safety without totally ruining the user experience with constant refusals? Well, they've created a brilliant safety net. Let's say a user asks a highly risky question about, advanced chemistry or network security. Fable's overly cautious classifier is going to immediately flag it. But here's the magic. Instead of just throwing up a brick wall and saying, hey, I can't help you, the system automatically hands the query down to Opus 4.8. And Opus 4.8 is still an absolute powerhouse of a model. It steps in, evaluates the prompt, and provides a safe, highly capable response. So you actually get a great answer instead of just an annoying refusal error.
Now, if you're a developer and you're worried you won't get the full Fable 5 experience because of this, the data is super reassuring. On average, 95% of Fable 5 sessions trigger no fallback whatsoever. So for the vast majority of your interactions, you are tapping directly into the unbridled power of that new Mythos-class brain. It's only in that remaining 5% of tricky edge cases where the Opus 4.8 fallback gently catches you.
Finally, Section 5, Building with the New API, the Technical Reality.
Let's talk cost first, because this is huge. Both Fable 5 and Mythos 5 are aggressively priced at $10 per million input tokens and $50 per million output tokens. That's actually less than half the cost of the earlier Mythos preview model. So it's highly accessible for enterprise scaling right out of the gate.
There are, however, some absolutely crucial API shifts that developers need to know about. Both models boast a massive 1 million token input context window and 128,000 output tokens. But more importantly, adaptive thinking is always on. You cannot disable it. The only thing you can do is turn a dial on how deep it thinks using an effort parameter. Furthermore, that raw internal thinking process, it is never returned to you in the API. It's either omitted entirely or just given back as a summarized overview. Also, and this is vital for your application logic, if Fable does refuse a prompt entirely, it returns a successful HTTP 200 code rather than throwing a system error, so your app won't crash.
To make building even more seamless, the API includes a native fallbacks parameter, which means your app can automatically retry a refused Fable request on another model. And brilliantly, Anthropic offers a fallback credit that refunds the prompt cache cost of switching. So you aren't paying double when a safety trigger fires. Add in support for persistent memory tools and vision capabilities, and Fable 5 is absolutely ready for production environments across all major cloud platforms, starting today.
It really is an incredible time to be watching this space. But I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. We have officially crossed a threshold where top-tier AI reasoning is considered too dangerous for the open web. So, as these systems scale to even greater heights, will our daily reality become one where we exclusively interact with leashed fables, constantly protected and filtered, while the true mythos of AI potential is permanently locked behind closed doors? Definitely something to think about. Thank you so much for joining this explainer, and I will catch you in the next one.